and something is hitchhiking on my CD rack. Kleenex, incidentally. So, greetings, one and all, and welcome once again to Tom's Hit Parade Live. You might want to excuse my voice a little bit. There is not a filter on it. It's still a little bit froggy from the illness that I had over the past week. Excuse me. Yes, you might be hearing me clearing my throat and possibly coughing a little bit. The cough is the only thing that's pretty much lingering now at this point. The cough always seems to be the last symptom to go in any kind of a cold or illness. Excuse me. But yes, I was afraid for a little bit that I might have had COVID, but I got those handy-dandy little free test kits from the government last week, took my test, and it came back negative. Plus the symptoms cycled their way out of my body more quickly than I think is typical for COVID, from what I've heard anyway. But yes, I actually came down with this illness, this cold, right after I did my last video last weekend. And it was nice enough that it waited until I was finished with the video to do that. But yeah, I was feeling pretty much back to normal on Friday, except the cough was still there. So I worked from home on Friday. I would have worked at the office on Friday, but yeah, just to give an extra day for the symptoms to hopefully flush themselves out of my system completely. But yes, it is back to work tomorrow, unfortunately. But anyway, enough of that for now. But yes. Today on Tom's Hit Parade Live, I am giving you my monthly playlist video. It's just the stuff that I've listened to over the past month, just for kicks, just for the heck of it. Of course, that's kind of the case. I mean, I say that as the intro to my playlist video because there used to be quite a few things that I did. Perhaps some of them will be coming back. I'm still kind of adjusting to the new live stream thing, the fact that I don't have my old camera and all that stuff. But there were other things that I did every month and videos that I used, that I listened to music for those purposes and not just for fun. That's why I specify this is the music I listen to just for fun, as opposed to my bargain bag and that kind of thing. But anyway, yes, before I go into my actual playlist, I've got about 25 CDs to show you, incidentally, and hopefully this will be the final CDs only edition of playlist for quite a while, because I am down to, I meant to have this ready for you. Yes, despite the the huge backlog of CDs that I might have shown you, actually I can't remember if I showed it to people in video chats, in video calls, but I don't know if I showed it here on my channel. Had a big backlog of CDs for quite a while, and despite being gone for a week during the middle of this month to Tulsa for my friend Noah's wedding, and also, despite coming back with a small stack of stuff from Oklahoma, I've managed to cut down my CD listening backlog to this. This is all I've got left to listen to in my CDs, and thank goodness, because I'm about to go back to work full-time, so I will have a lot less time for at-home listening, except for in the evenings. But yeah, so hopefully beginning with my April playlist, it will be back to a mix of vinyl, CDs, and cassettes. Yes, don't get me started on my vinyl and cassette backlogs. Those are still pretty significant. But anyway, before I get into the playlist proper, I like to talk about what I call liner notes, which is just miscellaneous topics of discussion that I might have had, not necessarily related directly to my playlist, and also not necessarily related to my channel. Excuse me. Just stuff about music in general, or maybe even not about music. But the most common thing I would do in my liner notes is talk about musicians who have passed away over the past month. I actually had the list. It's kind of funny, but I got finished with my last playlist video, closed everything down, and the last thing I closed, there was the notepad window with the musician deaths that I was going to talk about, but completely forgot to. So I am incorporating the February passings into this video. So what the heck? And yeah, just also to make this video a little bit longer, because my playlist video, as it would probably be about 20 minutes long. So anyway, on to the music passings from February and March. First we have Mark Lanegan, who was a member of the Screaming Trees and Queens of the Stone Age. He passed away on the 22nd of February at age 57. I have never been into those two bands, so I don't particularly feel Mark Lanigan's loss. It's very tragic, of course. It's never. I mean, unless you're kind of twisted, uh, you're never happy to hear the loss of someone. I mean, honestly, it's always tragic. Especially the first people you think of are the family and close friends of the person who passed away, and in the case of music, their bandmates. Um, but anyway, as I try to curb my rambling, the next musician death is Gary Brooker. He passed away at age 76 on February 19th, and he was the singer and pianist for Procol Harum. Is it Procol Harum or Procol Harum? I'm not sure. I think it's Harum. Anyway, this is another band that I have very, very limited experience with. Just there are so many bands, especially classic bands from before I was born, that I have yet to try and sample their music or get into them. So perhaps at some point I will sample Procol Harum. And then we have Ian MacDonald, who passed away on February 9th. He was a founding member of King Crimson and Foreigner. Being an 80s kid, obviously Foreigner is a significant band to me. I've sampled King Crimson, but I've never really been able to glom onto prog bands very much. But yes, Ian MacDonald, very talented individual. And yes, very sad to see I forgot to put his age on here. I wonder if he's one of those musicians, perhaps, whose age was a little bit fuzzy. That might be the reason I forgot to put his age on there, or didn't. And then we have Betty Davis, the legendary funk and soul singer from the 70s, I believe. She was age 77 when she passed away on February 9th. I don't believe I have any of her work except maybe on compilations, but yes, I knew of her at least. Very prominent figure in funk and soul from the 70s. Then we have, back on February 2nd, I'm moving backwards on these, at least in the month of February, Willie Leacox, who was the drummer for the rock band America. He passed away at age 74. And America, my sister was very much into America. They were very popular in the 70s. She was a teenager and a big music fan in the 70s. So America had some great hits. Check out the band if you want to, if you haven't yet. They've got some good hits on their discography. And then another drummer. This is the one that passed away just yesterday. We all woke up to the news of his passing this morning. Taylor Hawkins, age 50, the drummer for the Foo Fighters. And yes, I've only been into the Foo Fighters for about 2 years, but still, especially at that age 50, very, very tragic thing to hear about. And if the reports are to be believed, that I've heard a couple of reports that he had as many as 10 different substances in his system. I hate to think of that, and especially I hate to think of Dave Grohl, because obviously already he had to put up with the death of one bandmate, namely from Nirvana, Kurt Cobain, who died and was actually, he didn't die of drug abuse, now that I think of it. But yeah, I mean, drug abuse is, well, obviously pretty prevalent in the rock world. And you think that most musicians might have learned their lessons? But of course, we on the outside, especially we who are not even in the music world, have no idea what the circumstances are, or even if that report is accurate. But still, very, very tragic happening for the Foo Fighters and for Dave Grohl, and of course for Taylor Hawkins' family and friends. So Godspeed to all of the musicians I just mentioned. And yes, things won't be the same especially without Taylor Hawkins for the Foo Fighters. It's going to be interesting and a little bit nerve-wracking, maybe, to see what happens to the band as how they go forward without Taylor Hawkins. So, excuse me. So yes, that is the liner notes portion. I really don't have anything else to talk about with regard to my channel, particularly. So, excuse me. So let's go ahead and move on to my playlist. I've tried to organize these CDs so that they kind of flow from one topic into the other. We'll see how well I accomplish that task. But yes, as we proceed on to my playlist, the first item here is a band called Deep Forest. Now, these guys are kind of ambient electronic folk type of stuff, if you think kind of like the ambient stuff like Enya would have done, or there's another band that's, well, kind of like this, but not really. They're called October Project, but they actually do have a bit more of a pronounced beat than Deep Forest. Deep Forest, as I mentioned, is a bit more ambient kind of stuff. There's another band. Secret Garden maybe is a little bit like these guys. But yeah, if you like the kind of the nature-inspired popular music, folkish pop music, check out Deep Forest. And then another, this is an album that I found. Was this actually back in Bend? Have I had this on my listening queue for like 2 years, for like a year or so? And I finally just got around to listening to it. Anyway, Robert Randolph and the Family Band. I had 3 of these guys' albums until I picked this one up, and I think this was at Ranch Records, or excuse me, Smith Rock Music in Bend, Oregon. I believe is where I picked this up. And yeah, some great soul, funk, rock kind of stuff. I picked their the first album of theirs that I got, which was actually their most recent one. I picked up at a garage sale in Eugene a few years back, and just for some reason I just really enjoyed it, and have slowly and steadily picked up albums of theirs since then, and have yet to be disappointed in any of their albums, as I try to speak. And now these guys, I might have a couple of artists in here that I mentioned in last month's playlist, but these are obviously different CDs because I listened to these this month. Roxette, and this is their more popular album, Look Sharp. The album after this, Joyride, I think I found in a freebies haul recently, so I really enjoyed that one, and so I picked this one up. And this has their single, The Look, which was a fairly popular single, and I thought there was another popular, Listen to Your Heart, and I can't remember if Roxette had the most popular version of this song, or if another artist version was more popular than this one. But yeah, Listen to Your Heart was a very popular ballad, and The Look was a very popular song as well. So, and then we have Smash Mouth. I bought this one on when I was out in Oklahoma, and Noah gave me their previous CD, Fush You Mang, for free, I think, or did I buy it for money? I can't remember. But this is their self-titled album, and I like this one a little bit more than Fush You Mang. This one has the song Holiday in My Head, which I really enjoy, and Pacific Coast Party, which is one of my favorite songs by Smash Mouth, along with one of the best covers of any song that I've ever heard, their cover of I'm a Believer, the Monkees hit. They do such a great job on that song, and yes, they're kind of a very cliche band that arguably has not aged very well since their heyday in the 90s. But I like these guys, and I am looking for their the other album that I'm missing of theirs, Astro Lounge, is, well, the only other album that I'm missing of theirs that I care to have. Is so I've got that one on my list. Keep looking out for it. And this one I found at a thrift store, I believe. And I think that was shortly before I went to Oklahoma back in August for the first time. Because I think that was, no, I've been to a freebie store or a thrift store since then. I don't remember when I picked this up. Kristen Chenoweth. This is her debut album, Let Yourself Go. Mostly Great American Songbook standards. And she has a great voice. It's a little bit more treble than I care to have in a singing voice, but she sings songs very well. She has a good voice. And yeah, My Funny Valentine, and How Long Has This Been Going On? There are a couple songs on here that I was not familiar with. The Girl in 14G, and If You Hadn't But You Did, and Nobody Else But Me. I don't think I'd ever heard that one before. I'm a Stranger Here Myself. That was a very good one. So yeah, very, very nice album, and a very talented singer. Then we have this one I picked up at Epic Seconds not too long ago. Bobby Brown's classic album. I think this was his debut album, Don't Be Cruel, an R&B staple from the late 80s. Yeah, 1988. Of course, it has the title track. It has My Prerogative, Every Little Step. And I thought there was another pretty popular song on here. No, maybe not. No titles that I recognize, but I may need to take drinks of water a little bit more often than I usually do. So, excuse me. That throat's good. As I said, it's going to take a while for that cough to completely go away. Now, this one I found in a recent freebie haul, and I was very happy that I did. Jonathan Brooke and the Story with their album Plum. Now, before I got this one, I had 3, or was it 4, Jonathan Brooke albums. And it's like, I would just kind of pick them up incidentally, when I saw them. But every one that I picked up, I liked her and the band a little bit more. And it's like I picked this one up, and after I finished listening to it and I put it on my shelf, I realized, oh my gosh, I've got 5 of her albums. I must like her. So, some great songs on here. I don't think I can I can mention any of them by name. They don't stick in my mind that much. It's been a few weeks since I've listened to this one, incidentally. But Inconsolable, I think it was a really good one. Made of Gold, that was a good one too. And Full-Fledged Strangers, I like that one. And then we have another one that I picked up back in my trip to Oklahoma last summer, and I'm just now getting around to it. Amanda Marshall, her 3rd album, Everybody's Got a Story. I had her 2nd album was in my sister's CD collection. And hey, Daft. And so I really enjoyed that one, and I picked up her debut album several months later, and then this one. And this is actually her most recent album, and it was in 2002. So I'm not sure what she's up to, but kind of wish she would make more albums. And then we have Alanis Morissette. And I mentioned, I think it was last month, there are a lot of artists I used to have their greatest hits albums, but I like them so much that I started picking up their studio albums. And the reverse has happened with a couple artists, including Alanis Morissette. My last CD purge, since there was enough, most of her albums, there were a few songs that I liked, but not enough to really warrant keeping the albums. And all those songs that I really enjoyed were on her greatest hits collection. So. And a couple songs on this album that aren't on any others. Like she does a cover of Crazy, which is a Seal did a hit version of that song. So, and she does a great version of it. And here's another one that I picked up back in my previous trip to Oklahoma. The Tokens. This is their best of, Weem Away. They are, of course, that is their biggest hit song, The Lion Sleeps Tonight. Great song, on one of the best songs of the 50s and 60s. And I have to say, most of their stuff sounds kind of like that. Has the same sort of feel to it, but they do stretch their legs a little bit. They do a cover of La Bamba, which is interesting. It's kind of like the only 2 versions of that song that I'd ever heard were Richie Valens and Los Lobos. So it was nice to hear someone else's take on it. And then they do a song, ABC 123 is one of the better songs here. And Dream Angel Goodnight. That's a very, very nice ballad. I like that one. So, yeah. And a few songs on here that were never before released on any other albums. So some stuff that's exclusive to their best of. And I've got a few artists in here that I've listened to more than one album of. So I'll be showing you a couple of twofers here, back to back. Crowded House. They are one of my favorite bands from the 80s and 90s. This is their 3rd and 4th album, Together Alone and Woodface. I think Woodface edges out Together Alone. I really like them. As I might have mentioned in my last mention of Crowded House, I had these in individual albums years and years ago. For some completely stupid reason, I got rid of them and just satisfied myself with a greatest hits album. But then in the last several months, got rid of that and went back to the studio albums. And I'm so glad I did. One of my favorite Crowded House songs that was not on their compilation or anything is As Sure As I Am. I really enjoy that one. That one's off of Woodface. And yes, this band did so many good songs. Check out Crowded House's discography if you haven't yet. They're really worth listening to. And then another artist who I actually ended up managing to complete her discography on this last trip this month, Kelly Clarkson. Listened to pretty much all of her CDs this month, but 2 of the ones I thought I'd spotlight are Stronger, as well as Piece by Piece. Each and every one of her albums is good in some way. I've not really disappointed with any of them, but yeah, she just had so many good songs. And again, this is an artist, I had her greatest hits for quite a while. And it's like, kept listening to it. And it's like, gosh, there are so many darn good songs on this that I might as well just pick up the studio albums. And then a couple of another artist I have 2 albums of, another female artist, and another American Idol winner, Carrie Underwood. Pardon my froggy voice. Carrie Underwood. There we go. We have her 3rd album, Play On, as well as her sophomore album, Carnival Ride. Not huge into country, but I've gotten to kind of like Carrie Underwood. And again, these were actually given to me by Noah's fiance at the time, now wife, Alyssa. So, will I be doing this forever? You mean the live stream thing? Or will I be doing this playlist video forever? Probably not this video, definitely. But I don't know. I kind of like the live stream format because I don't have to bother with editing afterwards. So probably. I will occasionally pre-record a video, but it will have the feel of a live stream. So I did that actually with my 2nd and 3rd chapters of my whole CD collection that I posted just a couple weeks ago. So, but yeah, this format I think I'm going to stick with. So I hope you're okay with that. I hope it doesn't disappoint you too badly. But yeah, the editing I didn't realize was such a slog for me. Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, and on to another. Oh yeah, I finished talking about Carrie Underwood. Sorry. On to another country artist, another female country artist, Shania Twain. This one I believe was in a. I have this one as well as one other Shania Twain album, and one of them was in a freebie haul, and the other one was on the dollar shelf at Epic Seconds. I can't remember which is which, but this is the one I listened to this month. And yeah, another artist that I didn't realize how good she was until I really started listening to her. Of course, her big hit, You're Still the One, which I actually didn't realize was a Shania Twain song until it came across on this album while I was listening to it. And excuse me. And there were a couple other good songs on here that I cannot remember what they are now by looking at the track listing. Oh, Come On Over, I think, was one of the better ones. And so, yeah, good artist that I am probably going to delve more into. And speaking of delving more into, another country artist here, Ronnie Milsap, his greatest hits. Now, yes, I do have this one in the form of a cassette that I was given as a gift a while ago, and I talked about it in a cassette. Actually, I think in a previous playlist video when I listened to some cassettes. So yes, this I probably have a different form of this that I already listened to. But yeah, again, Ronnie Milsap, another country artist that I kind of like. He's surprisingly good. Yes, if you had asked me about these artists as little as 5 years ago, I would have said, I'm never going to listen to them. Ronnie Milsap, come on, get out of here. But hey, if your tastes never change in music, it's kind of like, what's the point, So yeah, and in fact, I kind of like what I've heard of Ronnie Milsap so much that I'm thinking about getting the 2-disc Essential Ronnie Milsap that's available somewhere out there. So I'm probably going to keep my eyes out for it. I don't know if I'm going to actually specifically go out and buy it, but hey, what the heck. And then continuing on with, this is actually bluegrass and not country, and another genre that I never thought I would check out. But Chris Thile, this is his 2nd album, Stealing Second, and it has a baseball theme. But yes, I heard of Chris Thile by way of the Goat Rodeo Sessions, which is, it's kind of, I've talked about that before. They actually have 2 albums out. It's Yo-Yo Ma, the Grammy Award-winning cellist, classical cellist, Chris Thile, who is a banjo player, I think, Edgar Meyer, and so there's a 4th guy involved, and I can't remember his name. But yes, it's a mix of classical, bluegrass, and jazz. And that's what the Goat Rodeo Sessions and Not Our First Goat Rodeo. So they put out 2 albums over the years. Very interesting stuff. I love stuff that really bends the genres. So anyway, that's, to make a long story even longer, that's how I heard about Chris Thile. And the thing that made me pick this album up, though, is there are a couple of tracks on here, Alderanian Melody and A Night in Mos Eisley, So yes, Chris Thiele is a Star Wars fan apparently. So yes, I mean the songs, those two songs themselves. Oh, and there's another song called Hyperdrive. How could I not glom onto a CD that has Star Wars inspired track names? So, but yeah, the songs themselves don't have anything to do with Star Wars. They don't incorporate the Star Wars themes at all. It's just just to kind of have the novelty of having a bluegrass CD of all things that's done by a Star Wars fan who proudly shows a Star Wars fandom. So, and plus, I mean, the music is pretty good. It's I believe it's all instrumental bluegrass here, but he is a mean banjo player, I got to say. And yes, Yo-Yo Ma would not surround himself with slouches if he's going to make an album. So, and also kind of keeping in the vein of Star Wars inspired kind of stuff. See, I tried to arrange these CDs so that they would flow easily. Nerf Herder. Yes, this is a punk or a kind of a band, kind of like a punkier version of Weezer. I had heard about them for years, obviously, being a Star Wars fan, and when I hear about a band called Nerf Herder, they're going to stick in my mind at least. But I had never picked up any of their albums or listened to any of their music until now, and it's actually pretty good stuff. And there's a song called Van Halen on here that's kind of a tribute to Van Halen, and that one scores a couple of nostalgia points for me because it name checks a discount store that was around back in the 60s, 70s, 80s. It was called TG&Y. And there was one actually that was about half a mile from the house that I lived at down in Southern California. And I used to go there all the time. So nostalgia, nostalgia in the lyrics is always going to tug at my heartstrings or nostalgia strings. So. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 CDs left to go in my playlist video. So yes, even this one, even with my liner notes, it's going to be scarcely more than half an hour. So anyway, Fatboy Slim, you've come a long way, baby. Yes, this is their biggest album, their most successful album. And this is another band that I had their greatest hits CD, the one with Christopher Walken on the cover. And little did I know, though, that pretty much all the songs that I really cared about came from this album. And that didn't occur to me until after I'd already gotten 2 of their other albums. So not sure if I'll keep those other 2 or not, but this one, absolutely, definitely. If you love EDM stuff, that kind of thing, and you don't have Fatboy Slim, especially this album, this is a must-have in your collection. And then we have, this is another artist that I talked about. One artist, it's been a few months ago, so I probably don't have any hope in remembering who it was or what it was about, but an artist that I had let go of a long time ago, years and years ago, but was so glad I had the urge to pick up and check out again, and now it's one of my favorite CDs all over again. This artist is kind of like that. This is an artist named Matt Nathanson. He is a singer-songwriter, and I had 2 or 3 of his CDs a long time ago, got rid of them while conserving space, and his previous album, Beneath These Fireworks, I picked up, I believe it was at a thrift store last year, and this one I picked up in Oklahoma a couple weeks ago, and so glad that I picked both of them up. I listened to Beneath These Fireworks last month, and I listened to this one this month. Some great singer-songwriter rock-themed songs on here. Car Crash is the opener, and it's just great. And Come On, Get Higher is one that's probably, if you've heard one Matt Nathanson song, that's probably the one that you've heard. It was a pretty big radio hit back in its day. And To the Beat of Our Noisy Hearts, that's another great standout song on here. So I am kicking myself repeatedly for ever having given up Matt Nathanson CDs out of my collection, but now I have them again, so yay. And then we have these next 2 are both remasters of R&B pop singers. First one I actually picked up just a few weeks ago, the remastered expanded edition of Unforgettable with Love by Natalie Cole, and this is actually in a purple tinted CD case that I had myself. It was in a regular CD case when I bought it. I just transplanted it into a purple tinted one. But yes, this is the remastered version of her 1992 album. 1991, somewhere around there. but it's got 2 bonus tracks on it. And of course, this has her huge smash hit duet of the title track Unforgettable with her late father, Nat King Cole. But she is just such a fantastic, or was, I guess, such a fantastic, phenomenal singer in her own right. And this is a classic album that deserves all the attention in the world. A wonderful album. And I actually picked this one up kind of on a whim. I was at, I believe it was Target, and was looking for one CD, which they didn't have, but they did have this one in their ridiculously small CD selection anymore. I mean, it literally takes you about 5 minutes to look through their entire CD selection now at Target. It's just crazy. It's almost not even worth going into Target anymore. But yes, they had this one, so figured might as well pick it up, because it's becoming less and less common that Target actually has in stock a CD that I actually want. So now this one was one of probably my best coup, my greatest find when I was in Oklahoma earlier this month. I could not believe I saw this just sitting right there on the racks. It was in a vintage stock in Tulsa, and I had to shake my head and do a double take and consider see if I was actually asleep and dreaming when I saw this. But it is Whitney Houston, the deluxe anniversary edition of her debut self-titled album. And I had been looking for this one for quite a long time, but inconsistently. The longer I have something on my want list, the more inconsistently I've been looking for it, admittedly. So, I mean, when you really want something, you can go online and buy it from eBay or Discogs or whatever. So obviously I wasn't in that much of a hurry to buy it. But when it's sitting right in front of you, of course you're going to buy it. And it was at retail price, $15.99. And I have rarely seen this one for less than $20 in used condition. And this was brand new sealed. So yes, fantastic. A great album. I think I like Whitney, her sophomore album, just a little bit more. But still, this one has a few, 3, 4, 5 remixes on the audio CD as bonus tracks. And it also has a DVD with all of the music videos from this album and some other stuff as well. An interview with her, I believe. So, yes, obviously very well worth the $15.99 that I paid for it. Could not believe that I found it. I've just got 2 CDs left, but I got to take a drink. Sorry. The old throat's getting back into shape after being out of commission for a week. And now the final 2 CDs. These are also ones that I've been wanting for a long time, and they are also deluxe 2-disc editions. I found these actually on eBay. I did not get them for a terribly great bargain. I paid $60 for them, but they were actually new and sealed, and I have trouble seeing them, kind of like with the Whitney Houston CD. I have had trouble seeing either of these by themselves individually, used and already opened for less than $30. So I was getting a pretty darn good deal. And it is the first and second album by Tears for Fears. We got The Hurting here, and the second disc has a bunch of B-sides and remixes on it. And along with their sophomore album, Songs from the Big Chair. I have been wanting these albums for a long time, and here we have again an artist that I had their greatest hits CD for their greatest hits CD for quite a while, a few years, but had really been wanting to pick up their individual albums. And yes, so I could not pass up the bargain, bargain relatively speaking, that these 2 CDs were. They were new and sealed, and the seller also included Kurt Smith's solo album. It was used and opened already, but so for those 2 titles plus Kurt Smith's solo album for $60, I'm going to jump on it. So, but yes, I am so incredibly happy to finally have these 2 in my collection. Yeah. So yes, that is my playlist for the month of March 2022. I hope you guys are doing well. I forgot to mention that or ask that at the beginning. Yes, I hope you guys have had a good March so far. I've had a good March. I had a cold last week, but and I'm sure I caught it either during or on my way home from my trip to Oklahoma. But I had so darn much fun in Oklahoma that it was so worth it. the cold was totally worth it. It might have even been worth it if it had been COVID, honestly, depending how severe the COVID case would have been. But anyway, yes, so much fun. Yeah, I feel kind of blessed for the last year or so that I've had. Had lots of fun and been able to afford, more or less, to do all these things. And yeah, so hopefully I'm not rubbing it in too much. But anyway, to see some of my ramblings, how much time do we have? Are we on to? Yeah, 35 minutes. So I will go ahead and end this video here. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If so, hit that like button and share it with your friends, and give me your thoughts, questions, suggestions, or constructive criticisms in the comment section below. I might as well end this video because my voice is starting to go. Also, scroll down to the description for the links to my Twitter and Instagram feeds, and links to my favorite fellow YouTubers who are all worth checking out. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet, and browse my past videos, and be sure to ring that notification bell so you'll be the first to know each time I drop a new video or go live. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time, and remember, life's too short to be a music snob. Thanks, guys. See you later.